He reflects on a hard-learned lesson about the dangers of misplaced trust. A memory surfaces of a past encounter where he was the one left to suffer the consequences. His resolve hardens as he recalls the one thing he can never believe in. He specifically distrusts any girl who shows him a hint of kindness. This is Yuta Tono, a high school student whose cynical reputation precedes him. He scowls as a crowd of girls rushes past, completely ignoring him for someone else. Time and again, he was merely a stepping stone for girls trying to reach his popular older brother. Having been used repeatedly, Yuta has sworn off putting his faith in girls entirely. Suddenly, the very girl from that painful memory appears before him with a simple greeting. In his eyes, she is no different from all the rest. He tries to brush her off with a mumbled greeting, but she persists, repeating her own. His patience finally snaps, but she calmly claims she simply couldn't hear his reply. Cornered and flustered, he shouts a proper good morning directly at her.
She returns the greeting with a serene smile, completely unfazed by his outburst.
Yuta stomps away, internally scolding himself for losing his composure over her. A single glance back at her sends his heart pounding, much to his own confusion. He identifies her as Izumi Huju, a classmate who has been approaching him frequently. He overhears that she's considered a perfect match for his brother, confirming his deepest suspicions. She suddenly gets too close, her question making him blurt out an answer in a fluster. The intense moment began with her simply asking what kind of bread he likes. He watches her walk away, completely baffled by her strange behavior. Her friend cheekily suggests she visit the cafeteria, knowing they'll have his favorite bread. Later in class, Yuta clutches the very melon bread he was told about, utterly rattled by her influence. During gym class, a friend nudges him, asking for his opinion on Izumi's looks as she plays basketball. His friends gush over her mysterious charm and good grades, but Yuta remains unimpressed. His skepticism seems justified as he watches her demonstrate a complete lack of athletic talent. Despite her fumbling, her friends cheer her on, but she can barely keep control of the ball. She confidently calls for a pass and takes an impossible shot, which sails right past the hoop. Yuta stares in disbelief, wondering if she's capable of succeeding at anything. Yet, after her spectacular failure, Izumi beams with pride, leaving Yuta more confused than ever. As Yuta reels in embarrassment, he catches Izumi glancing back with a subtle, knowing look. His friends immediately call him out for staring, a fact he furiously tries to deny. From the court, Izumi turns with a faint blush and a small, triumphant smile. The entire exchange sends Yuta into a state of total mental disarray, shocking his friends. His friends confirm his fears, pointing out that she was undeniably looking right at him. Just as they turn to leave, Izumi's gaze follows them, her attention fixed on their group. Later, as school ends, Yuta is still tormented by his inability to understand her intentions. He realizes that for all her strange behavior, she has never once brought up his brother. A dangerous thought crosses his mind, imagining a world where she might actually like him. Reality crashes down as he sees her fawning over someone else with the rest of the girls. The object of their affection is his older brother, Rei, who graciously accepts a notebook from an admirer. Yuta's heart sinks, his worst fears confirmed as he lumps her in with all the others. His mind flashes back to a specific, painful memory of a cute first-year girl catching everyone's eye. A chaotic scene unfolds as a mob of girls tramples over him in their desperate rush to reach his brother. He collapses in defeat, recalling the endless cycle of girls feigning interest in him just to get closer to Rei. They would act friendly only to walk right past him, their eyes locked on his brother just ahead. This constant betrayal is precisely why he vowed to never place his trust in any of them. But in that moment of humiliation, a gentle voice asks if he's all right, offering a handkerchief. He looks up to see Izumi kneeling before him, the very girl who embodies the kindness he can't believe in. She offers him her handkerchief to clean himself up, leaving him utterly speechless at her unexpected gesture. He questions why she's helping him while the other girls chase after his brother. Yuta confronts her directly, demanding to know why she isn't with the fawning crowd. Izumi pauses, her expression unreadable before she turns to face his accusation. She glances at the crowd around his brother, questioning why he would even think she'd be with them. Looking down at him, she reveals her simple reason. She was looking for him. Her confident smile leaves no room for doubt, stating that finding him was her only goal. Flustered, Yuta finally accepts the handkerchief she's been persistently offering. She watches him with a soft, satisfied gaze, her act of kindness finally accepted. As she turns, she casually mentions that the handkerchief he now holds is her personal favorite. She leaves him with a simple instruction to return it, creating a perfect excuse for their next meeting. His mind remains locked on a single cynical thought: she must be after his brother. The very idea that she might genuinely like him sends his thoughts into a spiral of denial. He clutches his head in a fluster, swearing he will never allow himself to be deceived again. Meanwhile, Izumi cheerfully returns to her friend, who immediately notices her triumphant mood. The scene shifts to another day, with Izumi suddenly asking him for his zodiac sign. He recalls her recent frequent approaches, convinced it's all a ploy to get closer to his brother. Another memory surfaces of her cornering him at the lockers just to force a greeting out of him. Back in the present, he reluctantly answers her question, bracing for her strange reaction. She thoughtfully repeats his answer as other students listen in on their bizarre conversation. In a shocking move, she suddenly grabs him by the tie, pulling him forward aggressively. Yuta recoils in shock, demanding to know why she suddenly yanked him by his uniform. Just as quickly, she calmly hands the tie back, leaving him utterly baffled by her unpredictable behavior. Her friend, Urara, then appears, cheerfully announcing that blue is the lucky color for Virgos today. Izumi coolly explains she removed his tie because its dark green color was supposedly unlucky. Yuta is left speechless as the two girls present their horoscope-based logic as a perfectly normal explanation. Clutching the tie, he prepares to shatter her strange belief system with a dose of his own reality. He watches them walk away, resigning himself to the fact that he will never comprehend her motives. Yuta tightens his grip, reaffirming his disbelief in horoscopes and his absolute refusal to trust her. His day immediately turns sour as a series of unlucky events reinforces his cynical worldview. Slumped at his desk, he reflects on his terrible day while his friends notice his unusual exhaustion. He freezes, horrified by the thought that her strange prediction might have been right. As she fumbles with some small white charms, he thinks he's finally figured out her simple-mindedness. His theory is cut short as he slips on one of the charms, her voice cutting through the noise. Losing his balance completely, he stumbles forward and crashes right into her. He stammers an apology, completely flustered, but she just gives him a cold, assessing look. Just then, a stampede of girls barrels past them, all screaming for his brother. She coolly remarks that without her there, he would have been trampled by the crowd again. He realizes she's positioned herself as a shield, protecting him from the fawning mob. She glances back, smugly reminding him just how lucky he was to have her there. She then points to her blue-tipped hair, declaring it his real lucky color and shattering his composure. Yuta completely loses his composure, demanding to know what is wrong with her twisted logic. The scene cuts to his brother Ray, effortlessly charming a crowd of adoring fans. In the hallway, a pair of girls gossip about Ray's younger brother attending their school. Yuta overhears them plotting to use him, reaffirming his deep-seated hatred for this dynamic. Back in the classroom, Izumi's friend excitedly points out Yuta's return. He walks with heavy steps, his mind repeating the mantra that he can never trust girls. His gaze lands on Izumi, the one girl he distrusts more than any other. He immediately confronts her, pointing out that she has taken his seat. She calmly scoots to the edge of the chair, offering him the other half in a ridiculous gesture. He concludes that even her bizarre classroom antics are just a ploy to get closer to his brother. His focus is shattered as Izumi leans in, peering at his journal with unsettling curiosity. Her friend Urara suddenly appears, gleefully announcing a surprise math quiz for the class. Yuta is caught completely off guard, realizing he's about to face a test he never prepared for. He can only stare in stunned silence as Izumi and Urara seem unfazed by the impending academic doom. The results are in, and Yuta glares at his abysmal score, earning him a mandatory makeup test. His friends mercilessly tease him, blaming his failure on being distracted by Izumi before the quiz began. They laugh while comparing their high scores to his, rubbing salt in his academic wound. While his friends head out for fun, Yuta is left with the grim reality of needing to study all night. Deciding home is too distracting, he heads to the school library for some serious cramming. As he settles in to study, he's completely unaware that his brother Ray is watching him from the floor above. Yuta struggles with a math problem when a notebook with the solution suddenly appears beside him. He's startled to find Izumi leaning over his shoulder, calmly pointing out his mistake. As she walks away, she casually asks if he's studying hard, leaving him speechless and covering his mouth. His mind races, completely baffled as to why his popular, mysterious classmate is in the library. He watches her browse the shelves, surprised that she's not at some trendy social spot. In his mind, he had pictured her at a fancy cafe, posing for social media. To his horror, she pulls up a chair and sits down at the table right next to him. He stares at her in disbelief, but she just gives him a blank look, holding a book. Yuta is horrified to see she's reading a light novel with a title that perfectly describes his own paranoid thoughts. He demands to know why she sat next to him, but she coolly suggests she thought he needed help. She leans over, pointing out his blank notebook and smugly confirming he's completely stuck. He reluctantly admits he's struggling with the math quiz problems, looking away in frustration. Yuta flashes back to his friends praising her intelligence, but he finds it impossible to believe. His doubts seem confirmed when she nonchalantly reveals her own test paper, covered in wrong answers. He leaps to his feet in a fluster, completely thrown off by her bizarre behavior in the quiet library. With a smug grin, she flips the paper over to reveal a perfect score, leaving him utterly speechless. He erupts in frustration at her relentless teasing, but she coolly reminds him that he started it. She playfully shoves her perfect test in his face, then offers him a blank sheet to start over. With a knowing look, she confidently offers to personally tutor him on everything he got wrong. Overwhelmed by her sparkling and aggressive enthusiasm, Yuta throws his hands up in surrender and finally accepts her help. He remains suspicious, accusing her of simply memorizing the answers as she tutors him. After hours of studying, Yuta triumphantly announces he's finally finished all the problems. His heart pounds as he turns to thank her, only to find her peacefully reading by the window. She reveals she finished her work long ago, implying she was just waiting for him. Flustered, he shyly asks if she would be willing to check his answers for him. The realization hits him hard. If she was waiting for him, maybe she actually likes him. She slides her chair right next to his, closing the distance between them to look at his notebook. Leaning in close, she confirms his answer is correct with a soft, knowing smile. Her proximity and validation send his heart into a frantic, pounding frenzy. Yuta's brain completely short-circuits, leaving Izumi to stare at his mental breakdown in confusion. Izumi suddenly announces her mom is home and leaves, leaving Yuta completely frozen in her wake. Thanks to her help, he aces the makeup test the next day, much to the shock of his friend. The story flashes back to Yuta's first year of high school, showing him at the local supermarket. He's on a shopping trip, browsing the produce section for dinner ingredients. Yuta grimaces at the price of cabbage, lamenting how expensive vegetables have become. He settles on some carrots, wistfully thinking that some items are a luxury he can't afford. As he turns, he nearly collides with Izumi, who is also looking for vegetables. He stares in utter shock, completely baffled as to why Huju is at his local grocery store. She calmly asks if he's also shopping, and he can only manage a flustered confirmation. For a fleeting moment, Yuta can't help but notice that she actually looks quite pretty. He admits to himself that seeing her in casual clothes is a refreshing change. He quickly looks away, convinced she's messing with his head again as he notices her basket is full of snacks. He immediately spirals into a panic, berating himself for his thoughts while she watches in confusion. She ignores his meltdown and coolly asks to see his shopping list. He begrudgingly hands over the list, unable to refuse her silent demand. Yuta is stunned as she points out his list is for dinner, but his basket is full of junk food. She clutches a box of snacks to her chest, completely ignoring his lecture. She then orders him to put his own snacks back, insisting he can get them after buying the essentials. As he watches her walk away, still baffled by her behavior, he sees her stop at the ice cream freezer. She suddenly turns and gives him an intense, questioning stare, catching him watching her. He tries to protest, but she snatches his list and takes complete control of their shopping trip. After they check out, she cheerfully thanks him for his help, leaving him utterly exhausted by her energy. She gives him a casual wave goodbye, leaving him to process the bizarre encounter alone. His mood immediately sours as he's left standing in the aisle, annoyed at himself for getting roped in. Just then, a familiar neighborhood auntie approaches him with a mischievous look in her eye. Before he can escape, she asks about the girl he was just with, interrupting his gloomy thoughts. The auntie's teasing question about whether Izumi is his girlfriend sends him into a blushing panic. He vehemently denies it, stammering that they are merely classmates, but she looks unconvinced. She explains that she assumed they were on a date because they looked like they were having so much fun. The comment makes him pause, as he realizes that despite her antics, he has never actually seen her laugh. He cynically imagines the only person she'd ever truly smile for is his brother. His mind flashes back to the countless times he overheard girls admitting they were only using him. Leaving the store, he feels a small victory, reaffirming his vow to never be deceived again. His resolve is immediately tested as he spots Izumi standing outside in the pouring rain. A memory of her past kindness flashes in his mind, but he tries to dismiss it. He tries to walk away, determined to convince himself that her situation is not his concern. But his body moves on its own, and he finds himself holding the umbrella over her head. Flustered, he avoids her gaze, muttering that he's only doing it so she won't get sick. In a desperate move, he shoves the umbrella into her hands and turns to leave in the downpour. Yet somehow he ends up walking home with her, sharing the very umbrella he tried to escape with. They walk in awkward silence, huddled together under the small umbrella as the rain pours down. He questions her motives, thinking most girls would never agree to share an umbrella like this. Izumi simply gives him a knowing look, completely unfazed by his internal turmoil. The close proximity makes him nervous, acutely aware that the umbrella is only meant for one. His heart pounds in his chest, flustered by how little space there is between them. Even as they walk, he can't shake the feeling that this is all just an act. He remains convinced that every kind gesture is just a calculated move to win his favor. Lost in his thoughts, he fails to notice a truck speeding towards a large puddle beside them. He snaps back to reality, yelling a warning as he sees the impending splash. But before he can react, she shoves him aside, taking the full force of the dirty water herself. Drenched and flustered, Yuta insists he's fine while she asks about his well-being. She points out he wouldn't be soaked if he'd just used the umbrella, a fact he can't deny. He stares in disbelief as water drips from her hair, and she tries to stifle a laugh. To his utter shock, she breaks into a genuine, heartfelt laugh at their ridiculous situation. Overwhelmed by her reaction, Yuta can only offer a quiet, defeated apology. She simply smiles, thanking him for his attempt to protect her, brushing off his denials. Just as the sun breaks through, he concludes that she's a strange girl who laughs at the strangest moments. He realizes she's a dangerous person he must watch out for, as she casually tells him to head home. The story flashes back to his first year, establishing his height at a modest 167 centimeters. His world is rocked when her friend reveals Izumi is the exact same height, calling them a perfect match. He desperately clings to a single centimeter, rounding his height up to 168 centimeter, while she remains a solid 106.7 centimeters. He gloomily chugs a drink, ignoring his friend's concerned chatter about his foul mood. He spots Izumi at a vending machine, already the center of attention as other students praise her looks. The crowd swoons over her troubled expression, but Yuta is just parched and irritated by her indecisiveness. Even his own friends get involved, one calling out impatiently while the other simply admires her. After all that drama, it's revealed she's just 10 yen short, and an exasperated Yuta buys the drink for her. The story then introduces the root of all his problems, his older brother, Rei Tono, a man of legendary good looks. His presence is so dazzling that girls faint in his wake, and roses are said to magically bloom behind him. He leaves a trail of falling rose petals in his wake, a sight Yuta watches with silent resentment. His friends ponder if Rei is an urban legend, but Yuta silently seethes, rejecting any possibility of being like him. It's time for a classroom seat change, a small event that can drastically alter a student's daily life. For Yuta, this means the person he is most cautious of, Izumi Huju, is now a constant presence. His worst nightmare is realized as fate places her in the desk directly beside him. She immediately leans in close, expressing her hope that they'll get along, much to his flustered surprise. As she scoots her desk even closer, Yuta slumps in defeat, already overwhelmed by her proximity. He glares at her, convinced this seating arrangement is a calculated trap he failed to anticipate. A new resolve ignites within him as he decides to turn this misfortune into a golden opportunity. With a sly peek, he plots to use this proximity to finally expose her hidden motives and see through her act. His surveillance is cut short when she catches him, coolly claiming she was just looking at the mountains behind him. She then leans in for an intense, silent stare, sending him into a complete and utter panic. He leans in close, demanding to know if she's just another girl trying to get to his brother. She completely ignores his accusation, leaving him stunned as she gives a bizarre reason for looking out the window. His attention shifts to her desk, where all her school supplies are surprisingly cute and stylish. He contrasts her sparkling, well-organized space with his own plain and ordinary setup. His investigation is interrupted by a strange, grumpy-faced keychain hanging from her pencil case. She proudly introduces the keychain as a popular character, asking for his opinion on its cuteness. With a smug look, she holds up the grumpy keychain and declares that it resembles him. The comparison sends him flying out of his seat as he furiously rejects the notion. Their classmates watch the chaotic exchange, remarking that the two of them look like they're having fun. Yuta collapses onto his desk in exhaustion, realizing his surveillance attempt was a complete failure. Yuta cautiously peeks at Izumi, completely unable to decipher her thoughts. He recalls how every student who sat next to him in the past had a hidden agenda. They would inevitably pester him, trying to get information about his popular older brother. Despite sitting so close, he feels an astronomical distance between them as he tries to read her. His surveillance is cut short when she turns to him, now wearing a pair of glasses. Yuta is completely stunned by this sudden and unexpected change in her appearance. He awkwardly asks about her eyesight, and she explains she needs glasses to see from the back of the room. He realizes her previous excuse about looking at the mountains was a complete lie. A classmate asks if Yuta can see, and he smugly confirms he has perfect 20/20 vision. He proudly explains his good eyesight comes from being an outdoorsy kid, a fact that seems to impress her. He connects her bad eyesight to her previous lie, just as the teacher prepares to call on a student. His train of thought is shattered when the teacher suddenly calls out his name. Yuta breaks into a cold sweat, realizing he has no idea what the question is. Izumi whispers a single cryptic word to him, leaving him completely confused. He stares at her, desperately trying to decide if her whispered hint is a trap or genuine help. His mind flashes with images of her and his brother, fueling his deep-seated paranoia. With a determined clench of his fist, he makes a split-second high-stakes decision. He reluctantly stands and gives the answer she provided, bracing for the outcome. The teacher beams with delight, enthusiastically confirming that his answer is correct. Yuta collapses into his chair, utterly shocked that she actually helped him without a trick. He leans over, whispering a flustered thank you for her unexpected help. She responds with a smug smile, clearly enjoying his flustered reaction. Her confident gaze sends a wave of heat across his face, leaving him completely rattled. He watches her happily twirl her pencils, baffled by how much she seems to be enjoying his turmoil. Deciding to trust her just this once, he asks why she didn't just switch seats if she couldn't see. She leans in close, her proximity catching him completely off guard as he awaits her answer. With a serene smile, she simply states that she likes her current seat just fine. Her cryptic answer leaves him more confused than ever, reaffirming that he can't read her at all. Just as the bell rings, she suddenly raises her hand, catching his attention with a sparkling look. She points to the seating chart on the board, questioning the arrangement of the last row. Her friend offers to switch seats, but Izumi calmly refuses, her gaze fixed on the chart. Meanwhile, Yuta's friends enviously offer to trade places with him for the coveted back row seat. He furiously rejects their offer, calling them out for trying to take his lucky spot. Izumi turns with a sparkling, triumphant smile, clearly satisfied with this new arrangement. She later tells her friend that with her glasses, the back row is no problem at all. Yuta slumps over his desk, completely drained by her presence, while she happily hums beside him. The next day, she shows off a new hairstyle, turning to him and asking for his opinion. She quickly changes it again, presenting another style for his review. Not satisfied, she tries a third look, once again demanding his feedback. A flustered Yuta finally snaps, asking why she always needs his approval for everything. He observes that Izumi gets a uniquely happy expression whenever she opens her pencil case. His paranoia kicks in as he peeks over, suspecting she's hiding a picture of his brother inside. A closer look reveals the inside is lined with the same grumpy character from her keychain. He's completely baffled to see her getting excited over the simple pattern, questioning her sense of style. The scene shifts as a classmate observes that Izumi's friend, Urara, isn't fawning over his brother. Another student asks Urara why she isn't joining the crowd, but she casually brushes off the suggestion. Urara strikes a dramatic pose, proudly declaring that her self-love outweighs any interest in his brother. Izumi praises her friend's confidence, a trait that Yuta and his friends find oddly calming. Later on a bus, Urara enthusiastically suggests they all play a game of cards. While the other students eagerly agree, Yuta remains engrossed in his book, ignoring the chatter. Urara suddenly turns, asking if he's joining their card game and pulling him into the group. He internally protests, furious that they've roped him in without his consent. Before he can object, the cards are already being shuffled, sealing his fate. The class is on an outdoor learning trip, meant to strengthen their bonds amidst nature. He flashes back to how his friend Takamiya enthusiastically roped both him and Izumi into the same group. A sense of unease washes over him as he mentally assesses his chaotic group members. He overhears other girls gossiping about his brother, deciding his current group is at least better than that. On top of everything, he's stuck in the same group as Izumi, the one person he's most wary of. His friends reveal the card game is to decide their roles for making curry later that day. Lost in a flustered daze, he tries to snap himself back to reality as his friend calls out his name. The rules are simple. 3 people cook curry, 2 gather firewood, and the winner of their card game gets to choose. His friend whispers a dire warning. He heard from a senior that firewood duty is absolutely brutal. A fire ignites in Yuta's eyes as he vows to win, completely unaware that his friends find his desperation amusing. As the bus speeds toward their destination, Yuta's resolve hardens. Losing is not an option. The group arrives at the campsite, and the students begin to gather for their outdoor cooking activity. To his dismay, Yuta finds himself on firewood duty, and he glares at Izumi, who is inexplicably right there with him. A flashback reveals his defeat, desperately trying to win the card game while Izumi calmly outplayed him. She coolly explains their fate. The bottom 2 players got stuck with firewood, and he was dead last. The losing duo and their friend trudge up a steep slope, hauling heavy bundles of wood for the fire. Despite his annoyance, Yuta glances back with a flicker of concern, wondering if Izumi is handling the difficult task. To his surprise, Izumi wobbles under the weight of the firewood, looking utterly exhausted. Yuta himself struggles with the heavy load, heaving the wood with all his might. Izumi drops her bundle and strikes a triumphant pose, acting as if the job is already finished. He notices a determined look on her face just as another classmate calls out to them. A kind-looking girl from their class approaches, asking if their group needs any help. Yuta is caught off guard by her genuine concern, barely managing to acknowledge her. She offers her assistance with a warm smile, ready to help with their difficult task. The other boys are moved to tears by her kindness, but Yuta remains characteristically unfazed. Just then, Izumi gets uncomfortably close, startling him as she apologizes for the wait. He scolds her for popping up out of nowhere, but she coolly replies that she was just catching up. He watches her panting for breath, confirming his theory that she's completely unathletic. Seeing her struggle with the firewood, Yuta offers to take some of her heavy load. She fiercely rejects his help, grabbing his arm and completely misinterpreting his concern. With a determined point, she insists they must hurry back before all the curry is eaten. Yuta turns away in exasperation, completely baffled by her stubborn pride. Just as he writes her off, she offers a quiet, blushing thank you for his gesture. She then calls him a nice guy, a compliment he immediately and furiously denies as they walk. Their bickering stops as they stare in silent horror at the dark, bubbling sludge in the cooking pot. The rest of their group proudly presents the culinary nightmare they've dubbed curry. Yuta's stomach drops as he spots the secret ingredients: chocolate, honey, and yogurt. Yuta recoils in disgust, the foul taste of their creation sending him into a state of shock. Taking control, he bravely tastes the sludge while Izumi nervously eats some bread, avoiding the pot. Yuta immediately transforms into a commander, ordering his clueless friends to salvage their meal. As his team scrambles, Izumi watches him with keen interest, tasting a sample of his work. Her friend whispers to her, questioning if Yuta actually knows his way around a kitchen. One of his friends overhears, confirming that Yuta is surprisingly experienced in the culinary arts. The friend reveals Yuta even makes his own bento, a fact that clearly piques Izumi's interest. His sudden competence draws a crowd as other girls flock over, eager to join the successful cooking group. Thanks to his efforts, a plate of perfect-looking curry is finally ready to be eaten. The entire group celebrates their culinary victory, moved to tears by the delicious flavor Yuta created. The group showers him with praise, declaring his rescue mission a delicious success. Yuta tries to act cool, but he's secretly pleased that his culinary adjustment saved the day. He nervously glances over, anxiously waiting for a verdict from his most important critic. His anxiety grows as Izumi eats in silence, leaving him to fear the worst. She finally turns with a blushing smile, her simple praise sending his heart into a frenzy. Yuta is completely flustered, questioning why her approval makes him so ridiculously happy. In a moment of boldness, he points out a grain of rice on her face and she quickly wipes it away. He tries to regain his composure, telling himself her opinion doesn't matter as a teacher makes an announcement. He can't help but wonder if her compliment is the real reason for his good mood, noticing she now has more rice on her face. The teacher's voice cuts through the air, preparing to present the next part of their trip. The teacher announces the next activity, a recreation event that has the students buzzing with anticipation. A woman in a safari hat enthusiastically reveals the event is a mountain-themed treasure hunt. While the other students cheer, Yuta looks confused as Izumi listens with interest. The scene flashes back to the high-stakes card game, with Yuta agonizing over his final choice. He stares intensely at Izumi's cards, determined to avoid coming in dead last. Izumi returns his stare with an impatient look, silently urging him to hurry up. He flinches back, completely flustered by her intense and unfairly close presence. Now it's her turn to draw, and Yuta nervously holds out his cards, one of which is the Joker. He subtly tries to shift the cards, hoping to trick her into picking anything but the losing one. A wave of pure relief washes over him as she picks a different card, saving him from defeat. His friends watch in amusement as Yuta tries to subtly manipulate the cards in his favor. Convinced Izumi holds the Joker, he decides to risk it all and take a card from his friend instead. But just as he's about to make his move, his friend snatches a card from Izumi's hand. The sudden grab leaves Izumi momentarily stunned as her card is taken. Yuta erupts in frustration, accusing her of cheating as he tries to wrestle the card away from her. In a chaotic scramble, he triumphantly yanks a card from her grasp, celebrating his perceived win. He beams with relief, absolutely certain he has avoided the losing Joker card. But as he flips it over, his victory turns to ash. He's holding the Joker. Izumi gives a smug, knowing smile as Yuta realizes he was played like a fiddle from the very beginning. The guide's voice cuts through his defeat, announcing the start of the mountain treasure hunt. As the treasure hunt begins, his friends get hyped up about the million-yen prize while one reads the guide. Yuta remains deeply skeptical, doubting the prize money is real. Urara excitedly spots what she thinks is the first clue and rallies the group to follow her. He watches his energetic friends run off, then notices Izumi isn't with them. To his surprise, she's shuffling along at a snail's pace, comically insisting she's walking. She gives him an annoyed look, clearly not appreciating his observation of her slow speed. His friend calls back having found the first riddle, and Yuta prepares to follow. He glances at Izumi, sensing that something is particularly strange about her behavior today. They arrive at a wooden sign presenting them with a quirky riddle about their teacher. The group is faced with 3 paths, each labeled with a different activity, forcing them to solve the riddle to proceed. Yuta panics over the impossible riddle, while his friend reminds him of the million-yen prize at stake. Just as the group gives up hope, Izumi calmly announces that she's solved the riddle. She confidently points the way, revealing the answer is bowling, much to everyone's confusion. A flashback reveals she remembered this obscure fact from a day their teacher randomly mentioned it in class. Her friends are blown away by her sharp memory, while Yuta is just impressed she was awake for that lesson. She then pesters Yuta for praise, and he begrudgingly offers a sarcastic compliment. The rest of the group, however, showers her with genuine praise, grateful for her quick thinking. He glances over, grudgingly admitting to himself that she seems to be doing just fine on the trip. She catches his gaze and responds with a soft, blushing smile, leaving him flustered. Their victory is short-lived as they're immediately confronted with a wall of even more school-themed riddles. Urara excitedly rallies the group, celebrating how many riddles they've already solved. While his friends cheer for the prize money, Yuta just watches, drained by their endless energy. His friend calls out, but Yuta's attention shifts, wondering why Izumi hasn't returned yet. He asks about her whereabouts, and Urara confirms she went for water, but is taking a long time. With only 10 minutes left, Yuta grows concerned, realizing she's been gone for too long. The guide's announcement about the remaining time only deepens his growing sense of unease. A close-up on Yuta's face reveals he's seriously considering a worst-case scenario. He stares into the dense woods, the unsettling possibility that she's lost finally hitting him. His mind flashes with scenarios of her getting distracted or simply wandering off, lost in her own world. Clenching his fist with resolve, he calls out to his friends, ready to take action. He abruptly tells his friends he's parched, using it as an excuse to split from the group. His friends wish him luck, and he sets off with a determined look on his face. Yuta sprints into the woods, worried that Izumi's spacey nature has gotten her into trouble. He pushes on, convinced it's better to be safe than sorry when it comes to her unpredictable behavior. He finally spots her by a path, calling out her name with a mix of relief and exhaustion. Yuta approaches, demanding to know why she wandered so far from the water station. She simply explains she was tricked by a sign promising treasure, leaving him dumbfounded by her gullibility. Relieved she wasn't actually lost, he tells her they need to hurry and rejoin the others. As they start walking, he notices something strange about her gait, a slight limp in her step. He stops her, his eyes fixed on her feet as he asks if she's injured. Izumi stares in surprise, questioning how he noticed her injury. He explains that her strange behavior throughout the day gave her away. He scolds her for hiding her injury, pointing out the danger of wandering off alone. He tells her she shouldn't have pushed herself so hard just for the outdoor trip. With a deep blush, she shyly admits she was genuinely looking forward to the trip with him and their friends. Her heartfelt confession sends his own heart into a flustered, pounding rhythm. He's stunned to see such a clear, unguarded expression on her face as she nervously fiddles with her zipper. He reflects on how he'd always considered her an unreadable enigma, a complete mystery. He turns away with a flustered huff, trying to process this new side of her. He internally dismisses her heartfelt reason as childish, earning an annoyed look from her. He quickly retracts his statement, apologizing as she repeatedly bonks him on the head in flustered retaliation. With no other choice, he begins the long trek back, carrying her through the dense forest. He gives her a piggyback ride, brushing off her apologies by insisting it's an emergency situation. She worries about being too heavy, but he just tells her she's surprisingly light and needs to eat more. She fondly recalls the fun she had with everyone, the memory overshadowing the pain in her feet. He can't help but tease her for getting blisters from the very shoes she was so excited to wear. Yuta smirks, telling her that for all her mystery, she's actually quite easy to read. Her quiet denial makes him pause, once again questioning if he understands her at all. She tightens her grip on his shoulder, her voice soft as she calls out his name. With genuine sincerity, she quietly thanks him for coming all the way back just to find her. Her sincere thanks leaves him blushing as he reflects on how he never used to trust her. He realizes that maybe, just maybe, she's far simpler than the enigma he made her out to be. A profound realization dawns on him, a turning point in how he perceives her. His mind flashes back to the moment he found her, a memory that now feels incredibly significant. Back with the group, his friends fuss over him while he carries her, admitting to himself he's starting to believe in her. The guide cheerfully announces that everyone has safely reached the end and found the real treasure. His friends, however, are in tears, demanding to know what happened to their million-yen prize. Their grand prize is revealed to be a mountain of dreaded classical literature workbooks. His friends suggest he take the prize, but he furiously tries to pass the terrible reward onto a shocked Izumi. Izumi simply turns away with a smug look, leaving him to deal with the unwanted books. Yuta apologizes profusely, finally believing her injury is real as he asks to see it. He's shocked to see her bandaged foot, questioning why she kept such a serious injury hidden. She ignores his concern, instead giving him a smug look and calling his name with a mysterious tone. Izumi praises his sharp observation skills, but Yuta is too flustered to appreciate the compliment. A flashback reveals the source of her excitement, a mountain of snacks she bought the day before the trip. She's seen struggling to pack the treats, determined to bring enough for everyone despite the bag's protests. With great effort, she squishes and shoves the snacks, trying to make everything fit. Exhausted but resolute, she finally manages to close the overstuffed bag. Back on the bus home, she sighs in disappointment, admitting she never got the chance to share her snacks. Yuta overhears her quiet lament, his expression softening as he looks over at her. Yuta is suddenly jolted from his sleep on the bus ride home. He wakes to find Izumi presenting him with an armful of snacks as a thank you gift. The next day at school, a cheerful greeting introduces a new student, Hasegawa. Hasegawa turns with a radiant smile, her perfect appearance captivating the hallway. Nearby, a student struggles with a heavy box, prompting Hasegawa and her friend to notice. The boy offers to help her, and she accepts with a look of polite surprise. From a distance, other students gush over her, calling her the perfect, flawless beauty. Her sweet demeanor vanishes as she suddenly whirls around, telling the admirers to stop. She steps in to shield Yuta's brother, scolding the crowd for bothering the school's idol. Hasegawa then turns to Rei with a sincere apology, while he looks on with his usual cool indifference. Yuta's friends watch in awe, impressed by the new girl's confident display. Rei simply offers a polite, dazzling smile, brushing off her intervention with thanks. The other students are completely captivated, seeing Hasegawa as a dreamy, untouchable idol. Yuta's friends praise her, noting she seems to be the only girl not fawning over his brother. The scene then cuts to the quiet solitude of the girls' restroom. Inside, a hand frantically scribbles detailed notes about Rei's scent and appearance. The perfect class rep is revealed to be Hasegawa, a secret and obsessive fanatic of Yuta's brother. She recalls Rei's unexpected appearance, realizing he was only there to apologize to Yuta for a mix-up. Her obsession deepens as she decides that just watching him from a distance is no longer satisfying. She erupts in a private celebration, overjoyed that she finally got to interact with her idol directly. Her notebook reveals she's already documented Rei's every move at school, but now she craves more. Her obsession shifts to his private life, imagining the secrets he keeps behind closed doors. She realizes that to get to the idol, she'll need to go through his unsuspecting younger brother. The next morning, she puts her plan into action, greeting Yuta with a blindingly sweet smile. Yuta, completely unfazed, barely acknowledges her with a tired mumble. In her mind, however, she's a predator ready to extract every last detail about Rei from his brother. She fumbles for an excuse to talk to him, nervously commenting on the weather. Changing tactics, she tries to engage him by asking about their homework assignment. She quickly offers to let him copy her work, a classic move to get closer. Yuta gives her a suspicious glance, sensing something is off about her sudden friendliness. She forces a smile while hiding behind a curtain, silently fuming at his complete indifference. Alone in the restroom, her perfect facade shatters as she rages over his rude dismissal. She bursts out of the stall, startling a classmate as she fumes over her bruised ego. She recalls seeing him with Izumi, baffled that her plan to charm the supposedly easy target failed so spectacularly. A sinister smirk spreads across her face as she concocts a new, more aggressive strategy. Her attention zeroes in on Izumi, identifying her as a formidable rival for Rei's affection. She observes Izumi and Yuta talking, noting how close they've become and seeing it as a threat. Izumi points out Yuta's homemade bento, creating the perfect opening for an eavesdropper. Hasegawa practically drools at the chance to listen in, hoping to uncover some useful information. She eagerly jumps into their conversation, trying to belittle his bento as simple leftovers. She leans in, feigning interest in their food preferences, while secretly plotting to get information on Rei. Izumi simply turns to Yuta and gives his bento a one-word review. Nice. Hasegawa is utterly floored by the anticlimactic response, her grand plan falling flat. She fumes at Izumi's lack of follow-up questions, faking a dropped chopstick to hide her irritation. Leaning over Izumi's desk, she demands to know why she'd ask about the bento with no ulterior motive. Izumi calmly holds her chopsticks, internally noting that learning about Yuta is useless to her. Frustrated, Hasegawa turns her interrogation on Yuta, demanding to know his favorite foods. Hasegawa gets uncomfortably close to Izumi, her intense gaze searching for an answer. Izumi simply gives a sly, blushing smile, suggesting that they're both the same. Her cryptic comment leaves both Yuta and Hasegawa completely baffled and speechless. Yuta clutches his bento protectively, convinced Izumi's intense gaze means she's after his lunch. Meanwhile, Hasegawa slumps in defeat, realizing her elaborate interrogation yielded zero useful information. She fumes over how she learned more about the bickering pair instead of her true target, Rei. Her mind drifts to a fantasy where the dazzling Rei shows her gentle concern. Clutching her secret notebook, she blushes while reaffirming her deep obsession with him. With renewed determination, she vows that her next attempt to gather intel will be a success. In her paranoid mind, she imagines Yuta and Izumi are deliberately hiding juicy secrets about his brother from her. Later that day, Yuta arrives home and is immediately greeted by his brother's voice. He finds Rei looking completely disheveled and lazy, a far cry from his perfect public image. Yuta stares blankly at the scene, completely unfazed by his brother's messy, off-duty appearance. Yuta scolds his messy brother, pointing out that his adoring fans would die of shock if they saw his true self.